Hey, you crazy Floridians, what a show we have in store for you today. We're talking pandemics, we're talking hurricanes, the locusts are coming. It's going to just be an amazing show. My name's Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gadsden. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Florida's Fourth Estate. I like how you say crazy Floridians. That's redundant, right?
You're kind of right.
Did you mean to say that?
I guess I didn't need to say both of those, but Hey, for those of you tuning in on Facebook, good morning to you, Rosanna. Glad to have you with us. We've got Charley and Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Hey, if you guys have any questions during this podcast, we have an expert in the house, don't we, Ginger Gadsden?
Yes, I am your expert. No, I'm.
Whoa! Everybody left.
And we're done. We have one of the best meteorologists you will ever find, and I'm not just saying that because we work with him every single day. Our chief meteorologist, Tom Sorrells, is a fantastic guy, and he is so knowledgeable. He has a way of breaking things down that even in bite-sized pieces that even I can understand them. Tom, we're so happy you made time for us and didn't forget today.
I would never forget you.
No, but okay, so I should promote this as like a crossover episode. Talk to Tom.
Yeah.
And Florida's Fourth Estate is like NCIS and NCIS New Orleans. They're all the mashup.
Right.
So
Interrelated. I come on your show. You guys are going to get up in the morning to talk to Tom tomorrow, right?
No.
One of these days, for sure. But it is fantastic.
The difference being, I actually showered for your show.
Wow. Thank you for
that makes one of us, Tom. That makes one of us.
I believe him because he's always usually wearing a baseball cap when he does talk to Tom.
Right.
Yeah.
I put on a great
collared
shirt.
Everything.
This is going to be great. Yeah, you look great, Tom. We've got Robin Witt in. She says, best cast ever. Oh, you're so sweet. Look at the glasses on Tom, says Beth.
I can't. I can see fine without them, but in the small print and stuff, and you guys look so little, on the screens, it helps me to wear them when I do this stuff. So, yeah.
Okay.
Glasses, it's me.
Wisconsin? Wow, Vicky,
oh, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we are a nationally syndicated show on Facebook. I don't know if you guys knew this. And we also have a Floridian spending the summer in North Carolina, but they do not miss our broadcast. Thank you so much, Robin. We appreciate you all tuning in right now. We love to see you. But, Tom, you're going to need those glasses because we're going to talk about some numbers here real quick. And it's not ideal. We got to start with the COVID numbers. Now, these aren't the latest update. As we were hitting the air, Ginger told me she got a Click Orlando alert about the numbers. Ginger, what did it say?
Yeah. Okay, so it said that we spiked once again, and it's 3,200. Let me make sure. It's 3,207 new cases of COVID-19 reported. And that's from yesterday. So those are today's numbers. And every day for the past week, we've seen this trend, Matt and Tom. It's gone up. When we got 2,500, we thought like, oh gosh, this is it. But seeing 3,207 today, that's insane. And we're in phase 2. The governor has shut down going into phase 3, but I don't feel like we were ready for phase 2.
Yeah, this is a big deal here because the other thing that the politicians, they can kind of skew with the numbers if they want with the new cases. They could say, oh, that's because we're testing more, even though we have the testing numbers. And we know that in the last month, testing has actually been pretty consistent, even though those new cases have risen. But the positivity rate, which I'll be interested to see from today as well. Yesterday, for the first time in a long time, it was over 10%, the number of people testing positive versus the number of tests. And 10% is that kind of magical number. Politicians say, we should be worried if it's above 10%. Well, it was yesterday, 10.25, and today it very well could be higher than that. So Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells, what is your level of worry when it comes to COVID-19 right now?
We need a number.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at about an 8 on the Sorrells scale because it's not gotten into my house. It has not penetrated my studio, but it freaks me out to think that those numbers are huge. That's 1 out of every 10 people walking around could be positive. And they tell us that 1/3 of those people will be asymptomatic. So I feel great. I feel like I could go 12 rounds right now. I'm all jacked up. But could I be asymptomatic and be spreading it to you guys? Although we don't touch in the studio or get close, that just freaks me out. I want to see my mom.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her since Christmas. I'm supposed to see her in 2 weeks. Now, when I see my mom, who's 83, am I carrying the disease to her? Because she's been so vigilant, so shut in. So I'm at about an 8. I don't think any one of my family is ill. But good Lord, what if we are? It scares me.
It's the not knowing. It's this new. It's something new. We haven't seen it before. So when something's new, you don't know what it does.
Yeah.
It's
true. And a lot of people are wondering if there are longer term effects with this illness. I know there's that worry out there, even though it hasn't been scientifically proven yet for most people. So it's something, people get mad at us sometimes for putting these numbers out, but it is our job to inform you. Now, are we saying you got to shut everything down again? Hey, who knows if the economy could handle that? That's not what we're saying, but we are saying it sure seems like Floridians were like, oh, no more quarantine. I'm taking the mask off. I'm going to the bar and I'm going to go hang out and hug everybody I can see. And that does not seem like the appropriate response. In my eyes.
For people who like to say the media, and I hate that term, the media, it's like, I live here. I don't want the numbers to be bad. So why would I report something that's inaccurate or not true?
Yeah.
So this is my home.
We want the economy to shut down. Yeah. Like that's our favorite thing. We're certainly not immune to any of that. So, okay. So we talked about what we had to talk about. Ginger, let's get into some of the stories that caught our eye from the week.
Oh, well, this one more accurately caught someone's face instead of his. A guy who was playing disc golf, right? And this happened like in the Largo, Florida area, which is out over on the other side of the state, right? It's in Tampa Bay area where I used to live. So he's playing disc golf and he finds himself in waist deep water. Okay, it's Florida. It's water. There's going to be a gator in there. So he's fishing around and lo and behold, a gator grabs his face, and this guy, and the way the story reads is he pried the gator's mouth open to free his face. So, and I know it's gator mating season, so maybe the gator was feeling a little amorous. I don't know if he was looking for love in all the wrong places, but that guy's face was not having.
Wait, did he only bit him, right? He didn't do anything else to him. I know it's mating season.
We don't know. No one's talking.
Well, look, hey, we all know, look, I hate to blame the victim here, but if you're in Florida and you're out in a pond, you're getting waist deep. You got to let that Frisbee go, brother. Go back to Walmart, get you a new Frisbee.
Seriously.
Don't get in the pond.
It's a body of water. You got to check. I check my bathtub before I get into it. I mean, that's how serious we should take the situation.
Yeah, when the story came out and they said, oh, this guy got attacked playing Frisbee golf, I'm like, dude, no, you're not safe anywhere. That's not what really happened. Yeah. He bailed right in the water.
No. Avoid the bodies of water, friends. Let's get you a cute story now. I just love this one. This one caught my attention. I want to show you these glamour shots. This is a mama taking her maternity pictures at Chipotle. And she's in Sanford. This is a Sanford resident, Jordan Lee Beals' road to pregnancy. She had a bumpy road. This is actually her 5th child she's waiting on. She loves Chipotle. And all of her venues for her maternity shoot fell through because of the COVID stuff. So she said, you know what? I am going to Chipotle and I'm going to take pictures with a burrito and a drink. And could she look any more beautiful? I don't think so.
No.
Oh my gosh, she looks amazing. I mean, she's about to have that kid and she looks so just fantastic. I mean, I've looked like that after eating at Chipotle. But
yeah, I feel like that after eating at Chipotle.
Just a food baby.
Bloating is not pretty no matter how thin you are.
No.
I love that she's just taken it in the best of, the best stride and just not, you can't stress about it. If she's already got all those kids already, she already knows nothing will faze her. Yeah. Nothing.
Whenever I look,
there's
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tommy.
There's some sort of thought or myth or something about when you're at month 9, if you have Mexican food, then you will go ahead and deliver. That is not true. I have scientifically tried that. One of our children was late, took forever. We did do the Mexican food. We did walk for miles. Nothing happened. So maybe that's part of it too. She didn't say that, but she looks like the kid's ready.
Yeah,
it's go time.
She's ready to pop. And
Turkey
those pictures just remind me of when my wife was pregnant. Each child, she had a different craving for a different thing. And I remember when she was pregnant with our first baby, I was at work, and my wife, you know, she usually eats like a bird, salads and stuff. And she had seen a commercial for a McDonald's Big Mac, and she called me at work. I'm like, "Hey, babe, how you doing?" She goes, "Have you ever eaten a Big Mac?" I go, "Well, yeah, I have." And she goes, "Well, what's on that?" I go, "Well, I've been ready for this my whole life. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun." Tom knows it. So I had to get one on my way home because she was dying to get a Big Mac. I don't think she's eaten one since, and she had never eaten one before, but I love the...
Okay, but did it send her into labor?
No.
It was just what she wanted?
No, she just wanted it. Yeah.
Oh,
you know.
that's fair.
I thought maybe we had a new endorsement for McDonald's. Trish endorses McDonald's for baby delivery. You don't even need Pitocin. Just eat the Big Mac.
just get the Big Mac. No, the special sauce has no Pitocin in there.
You're making me hungry.
All right. Hey, let's get to our favorite segment.
And now, your Floridian of the Week.
All right. This week, we got a guy. Now, look, you might see him as, he's certainly brave.
He's a local hero.
He's a hero to many. But he decided that it's his job. He calls himself the Python Cowboy. He went into the Everglades, and he's a wildlife trapper, obviously. He found the 17-foot python. His name's Mike Kimmel, no relation to Jimmy. Went out to a secluded island where he said he spotted some gator droppings. Came upon what looked like an extra large python that made his heart pound. They got into a wrestling match. He got a pretty nasty bite out of this, but he got it back to the boat, took care of business, and this guy, the Python Cowboy, is your Floridian of the Week. And look, I hate calling him that because I'm sure he could beat my face in if he wanted to, but I do not think it's very smart to go into the Everglades and get yourself a python, Gigi.
I mean, did you see the size of the head of that thing? The head of that python is probably the size of his head, right? Yeah. And he calls himself the cowboy, the Python Cowboy. He could use that thing for rope because that's how long it was. I'm glad it's him and not me. So it's an invasive species, so no love lost there. Those things do a lot and have done a lot of damage. But, just be careful if you're doing that. Now, he gets some money. I don't know exactly how much money. They don't print enough money for me to do that. Somebody says, Karen, be nice. She said Python idiot. Karen, come on, Karen.
Well, I did call him the Floridian of the Week, so she's right. This is that's just crazy. I can't understand people. And I know Tom Sorrells has a fear of snakes, which is one of the reasons that we brought that into the show.
I know. Sorry, Tom.
I'm sitting here alone in my office and I'm squirming when you put the picture up. It stays, and it's not just that the live snake freaks me out. See, my brain still dreams at night. And so I'll dream about it. And the next thing you know, I'll be jumping out of the bed and stuff. It makes me, it's just, and people make fun of me and say, "Oh, Tom, you're the poor snakes." And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
It's legit. What I'm hearing is now is the perfect time, Matt, for us to prank Tom with some sort of rubber snake.
There was a rubber snake in the weather center last week. I think it belonged to the morning crew. And I'm like, "Hey, dude, that's not funny."
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I would never do that.
I would jump to him. I'm like, "Dude, that's not funny."
He finds no humor. He has no snake humor. So Tom Sorrells, obviously chief meteorologist. He is the meteorological king of Central Florida. One of our favorite people. He is the man. He has guided us through many hurricanes. And look, lost in all of the protesting and the racial injustice and the COVID-19, we're still in Florida. We still have these hurricanes to worry about. God forbid one of them comes right now in the middle of all of this. But it is something we thought was very important to talk about. So, hey, if you're tuning in right now, maybe you're new to Florida, maybe you have some questions. I know I've got a lot of people talking about snakes at the moment. And somebody, so if you have a hurricane question, put it in the comments. We will ask Tom Sorrells. Tom, actually some news just came out the other day. Representative Stephanie Murphy wants to.
It was just yesterday.
Yeah, it was just yesterday. She wants to extend the hurricane season back it up into May. I was curious of your thoughts on that.
I'm ambivalent. I feel both ways. I think it's a great idea because it gets people talking. And I think it might not be such a great idea because I'm always resistant to knee-jerk reactions and change. And hear me out on this. First of all, last 4 or 5 years in a row, we have had an early start to the season. And it seems like that happens with alarming regularity now. So why wouldn't we look at maybe extending the start of the hurricane season 2 weeks, if not a month? Because so many of these are being named now, either in late April or early May. Mm-hmm. It used to be we didn't include April at all in the hurricane season, and we would always have our hurricane meeting in April because we'd never had a named storm in April. And then all of a sudden, about a decade ago, that happened. So it's like each month has had a tropical system form. So as far as actual things starting to cook early, they have, most especially as of late in the last decade. But I'm always opposed to big change unless you really can make it last. And we don't normally update our meteorological information, but about once every 30 years to start changing our norms every decade. So if over the course of the last 30 years, we had an early start all the time, then we would look at changing the season. With that said, I love it anytime I can get people talking about hurricanes, where they're going, hey, we might change the season. What do you think about that? Let's talk. And have people talk about it. That's good stuff, because all the items you mentioned, racial injustice battles we're fighting now, COVID-19 we're fighting now, it's a stinking election year. Nobody's talking about hurricane season. Nobody. So I'm grateful for this platform and the opportunity to talk about it. And if you look through your refrigerator right now, do you have bottled water that can keep you afloat and your family drinking and everything working for 5 days? I don't think anyone does. I don't think anybody's ready.
And the thing with it being hurricane season now, and the fact that we are in the midst of a pandemic, which, and you saw that we talked about the numbers for Florida right now. I'm afraid we're going to get back to where we were before, where things are missing from store shelves. So that really is a legitimate question. Do you have the supplies right now that you need that can sustain your family? And we used to say 3 days, Tom. Do you still say 3? Because I heard you say 5 just now.
I kind of like to extend it out to 5 because I think that when power goes this time, it might be tougher to get it back. I'm not sure where those people are going to come from, how staying away from each other and COVID and trying to isolate is going to help us. I think it's going to slow us down. And the big quote that people always throw out is, well, it took FEMA 5 days to get water to the Superdome during Katrina. Do you think they're going to be able to get to you any faster? And that's kind of not always fair, because I think FEMA does try to do a great job, but you really do need to be alone for 3 to 5 days. And so I'd go ahead and say 5. Also think about the differences between holding yourself at home through the COVID isolation. You needed different types of food because people were grilling. We still had electricity. Your eggs are still good. To bunker in for 5 days in a hurricane, chances are if you're in a zone that's going to get slammed, you're not going to have power. So the food stuffings, the food types, the food designs are going to be non-perishable. It's going to be a different type of food people are going to be hoarding. They will still go and grab water. So I suggest you store your water now. Get that done now. And I know that people ran to the store and took up all the pasta, and they ran to the store and took up all the meats.
Yeah.
That's not what you need for hurricane season. You need non-perishable items to get you through a 5 or 10-day window.
Yeah. And Tommy, we're getting some questions in. Karen Wallace has a really good one. She said, what do you think a hurricane would do to the virus? So I know that this is kind of getting into a different realm for you, but has that thought crossed your mind, and is it something that worries you?
No, I don't think it blows the virus around and spreads it like it would, like if it were some sort of thing in the trees. Like you get a virus that's killing, like pollen. It's not going to do that. Like you get something that's killing the palm trees. This infestation we had that's taken out all of our queen palms in the last decade or so. We really think some of that was blown along by the hurricane. I think the COVID-19 virus lives in human bodies. And I think that the big danger is not that it's going to be blown through the entire state and way up into Georgia. Oh no, it's coming out of Miami-Dade. They've had a big infestation. That's our hotspot. Oh gosh, that's going to blow to Pensacola. No, that's not the deal. My big fear is it's going to make everybody come inside again and be too close again and not have open space again. and then you spread it amongst yourselves would be the big fear. I think that's the impact the hurricane would have. Not that 120 mile per hour wind is going to blow the virus into Georgia. No.
Yeah. Well, Tom, they put out the forecast every year. I can't remember. They were saying, is it going to be a particularly active year? Because we've had 3 named storms already.
We did. It's the earliest we've ever gotten to 3 named storms. We made it by June 2nd. June 2nd, boom, we ended up with Cristobal. Say it, Matt.
Cristobal. I can never do it.
Dude,
I'm so glad that thing got out of here. I could not get it.
It does rhyme with Chernobyl.
Sort of. We're waiting on Hurricane Dolly or Tropical Storm Dolly. I have a hard time thinking that something named Dolly is going to give us a hard time, because when I think of Dolly,
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton. Sure, everybody's queen. But Ginger, the problem is this was an idea that came out of Colorado State University called the analog year. We try to look at the setup that we have, sea surface temperatures right now, where the high is building in, where the waves seem to be coming, what the atmosphere looks like globally, and try to compare it to past years. And one of the analog years they compared this to is 1960. One of them is 2008, and one of them is 2005. In 2005, for those of you who don't remember, was perhaps arguably the worst hurricane season ever. I know that in Central Florida, if I say, hey, man, what was the worst hurricane season ever? Everybody goes, oh, 2004. Well, that's because we got hit. But the most active hurricane season ever on record for us is 2005. We ended up running through the entire set of names and then knocking out, I think, 6 different storms of the Greek alphabet. So that was 05. And that's the latest analog year that they compare the current sea surface temperatures and setup to. So with that said, we've gotten off to an early start. We've already knocked out 3. If we really end up with a season like 05, it's going to be wild between now and October. One last note on that last year in 2005, when we had all that action, the last storm did not dissipate until January.
Well, that's a gross thought.
January. That is. Tom,
started in April, and we're going to go to January.
Let's not have that. I do have to say that Dolly sounds really cute and enticing, but did you know that the longest lasting Atlantic hurricane storm was named one of your favorite people? It was Ginger.
That?
It was Ginger at 71. And it lasted 27 days. So it's like, don't let a name fool you. Don't let a name.
It lasted 27 days and didn't bring me a cup of coffee.
It probably gave us a lot of hell too, I would imagine.
Never stop yelling at me.
Anywho, all right, guys, you're the worst.
Oh no, you're the best, Ginger. So Tommy, I'm curious. You've been in this market in Central Florida and Orlando for about 20 years now, I believe, right?
Yep.
So
longest I've ever lived anywhere.
Of all of the, yes. Oh, actually, I have something just for that. 20 years, that deserves a round of applause. So, of all of those years, what do you think is the most memorable hurricane here in the state of Florida? Which one really stands out to you?
For the state, like Charley. It reintroduced us to what could really happen. I was not here in 1960. That predates me. I wasn't born yet. I certainly didn't live in Florida. And that Hurricane Donna, came right over downtown Orlando. So that had not really happened, the actual eye. We get blasted with the sidewall, or we get high winds as the storm goes up the East Coast, or just to the south of us, or just to the north of us. But in the metro, downtown Orlando, Hurricane Charley came over Orlando. So it had been all those years, like 44 years. 1960 to 2004 was 44 years since an eye had come right across the city. And that one did. And it was a weird storm in that it was small and tight and compact. And it's also a mark of departure for me in that when you move to Orlando and you work in this market, it's different than almost any market you've ever lived in before, because it's transient here. Back in those days, about a quarter of the people turned over every 4 or 5 years, from the attractions bringing people in, tourism bringing people in, and people leaving. And so it was hard to get a foothold and for people to watch television and go, hey, I recognize you. But after Hurricane Charley, that never happened again. It was the weirdest thing ever. We had a brand new Viper radar, and like 2 days after Charley, I walked into what was an Albertsons at the time, and a 15 or 16-year-old boy who was stocking paper towels turned and looked at me and went, "Viper Man."
Wow.
And so I knew then that the storm had been the worst storm I'd ever been through personally, along with Hurricane Hugo, and had done more to establish my reputation or knowledge of what I do than anything ever.
Yeah.
It changed
Viper Man sounds like a great superhero name for you.
Better than Captain Sunshine?
Yeah, a little bit. I would give that I like Viper Man. By the way, Tom getting a lot of love on the chat right now. Carol Vu says Tom is well liked. That is very true. Tiffany says, yep, love him. I always, you know, if there's somebody at the station people don't like, we hear about it first. Anytime I'm out, people always tell me they love my weatherman. They have different things to say about my co-anchors, but, you know, the weatherman, I'm just kidding. They love you too, Ginger.
Hey, look,
but
we're like a weird, strange family in that if someone ever starts to say something bad about one of your co-anchors, it's like,
yeah.
It's like
You look at 'em like-
ugly.
Yeah. It's like, did you just say something about my mom? Yeah. Same brain.
Call my wife ugly.
Yeah.
Sure.
You don't do that.
That's
Get
great.
your dander up in a hurry. It hasn't. Think about all the markets you've worked in to get to this pinnacle. It hasn't always been like that, has it?
No.
Correct.
Not always.
Oh, yeah.
It really, really.
But that's another podcast.
Yeah. I've had some co-anchors that.
That's when my career's over and you want to know the truth, then you can ask. And we'll just unload on everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tom, talk to us a little bit before we let you go, because, gosh, I can't believe the time has gone so quickly. We always talk about things like tropical storms, and people are like, it's just going to be a little bit of rain. It's going to be this. But sometimes those can be even worse than an actual hurricane because of the flooding and all the water. Talk a little bit about that for people who don't take it seriously until they hear a category number assigned to a storm.
Right. It's aggravating as the day is long for people to say, "Oh, well, I don't evacuate for anything less than a 2." Okay, evacuating is a big move and a big deal, and not everyone has to evacuate. But the term that we really loathe in my industry is, it's just a tropical storm. It's just a Category 1. In 2008, we had just a tropical storm, Faye, came right in, became a cutoff low right over top of Central Florida. We got 30 inches of rain in 2.5 days, and Sanford was a puddle, dude. It was awful. The St. Johns River was like backed up for months. We were at flood stage for months, all because of just a tropical storm. So you have to really take precaution. You have to know what you're dealing with. And every storm is different. It's like Matt has 3 daughters. They're all different.
That they are,
they're
Tom.
All daughters. You had them all. You birthed them all with the same woman. You ain't think to be
As far
just
as I
alike.
know.
Dude, they're nothing alike. And so, like, when you're asking about Hurricane Charley, and the most impactful storm of my career here was probably Charley, Francis, and Jean that summer. But that was different than any other storm we've ever had. Yeah. And they all are not alike. They're not all equal. And so, yet the whole just a tropical storm or just a Category 1, I can't go for that at all. You got to be ready every single time.
Yeah. And it is worrisome when people say, we went through a tropical storm before, so this is going to be the same deal. And to your point, no two are alike.
No two are alike. And when people say I've lived through 3 hurricanes, Charley, Francis, and Jean, I always ask, where do you live? Mm-hmm. Do you live in Polk County? Because unless you're in that little dot in Polk County where all 3 eyes came over, you didn't. We had a hurricane force wind in Orlando with Hurricane Charley. We never had hurricane force winds with Francis or Jean in Orlando. So if you lived in Brevard County, on Charley Day, that August 13th, that Friday the 13th, you had Winnie the Pooh's blustery day. While in Orlando, we had 90-mile-per-hour wind.
Yeah.
So you haven't lived through 3 storms. You really haven't. They were close to you. Mm-hmm. Some were tropical storms, some were hurricanes, but you haven't lived through 3 hurricanes.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people. No, that's very true. And I told Tom we were going to keep him for 20 minutes. It's already been 30, but I would like to end this with just a few of our comments.
Has it really?
Natasha says, I always have faith in Tom after Charley, proving his point that when Charley came along, he really earned his stripes there. And then Carol Sanford says, always listen to Tom during a hurricane. those right there are words to live by. We are so glad we have Tom Sorrells at our station. I always feel comforted.
Amen.
He doesn't blow anything up. He's not making a big deal out of things that aren't going to be a big deal. So if Tom's worried, I get worried, and you should be worried too.
And I'm hiding under the desk.
Tom Sorrells, we appreciate what you do. I hope it's a quiet hurricane season and we don't hear a whole lot from you. Thank you for joining us.
I wish I could take every vacation, every Friday off for the rest of the year, but my doubt is huge, and we're going to stay hyper vigilant. I'll see you guys this afternoon at work.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tommy.
Hey, this has been another really fantastic edition of Florida's Fourth Estate, and it's fantastic because our guest today, not because of the host.
Well, that's a given every single week. Tom Sorrells, thank you so much. Ginger, always a pleasure.